A monster walks into the streets of Seoul like it owns them, and within seconds the whole city is running, students scatter, buildings crumble, and thick black smoke covers everything that was standing a moment ago. A news helicopter circles a massive stone tower that has torn itself out of the ground and planted itself in the middle of the city. Purple light bleeding from its windows like open eyes, and the reporter on board keeps calling it a structure, because nobody in an official position has any damn idea. Then, all across the city, glowing blue circles burn into the pavement, and ordinary people do the only thing they can think to do: pull out their phones and start recording, as if documenting it makes it less real. Groups of people get swallowed by portals without warning, dragged through, and dropped somewhere none of them chose to be. But not everyone who lands on the other side looks afraid, because some of these people carry themselves like they have been waiting for exactly this. The towers keep coming, the monsters keep multiplying, and the world keeps packaging it all into something manageable, until a pink-haired hunter steps out of the smoke, burns 3 monsters to nothing with one hand, and the crowd surrounding him explodes like he just walked a red carpet. Because that is exactly what hunters have become in this world. Not just protectors, but celebrities, their faces on screens, their guild leaders shaking hands for cameras, their S-ranks treated like royalty by a public that has decided fear and admiration are basically the same emotion. There is even a live television show built entirely around the obsession, Meet the Hunters, pulling a 35% nationwide rating because the world has learned to sit down and enjoy watching the most powerful people in existence answer questions on a couch. 3 of those powerful people are here tonight: Seokwan Han, Seoyeon Lee, and Sihyun Kim, the top guild leaders in South Korea, all polished, all composed, all smiling for the cameras, with the practiced ease of people who have long since made peace with being watched. But then the host asks the question that has been circulating online for weeks: who is the advanced player? And the energy in the room shifts, because this name means something different to the people sitting on that couch. The guild leaders hold it together, but there is a beat, just a breath, before they answer. And in that beat, they reveal more than their words do, because what they confirm is this: he was there at the very beginning, a first-generation hunter, and when the tower finally released everyone else, it kept him and sent him back to floor 1. Not for a month, not for a year. For 12 years, he's been locked in that loop, clearing the same tower over and over, until the day he stopped repeating it and started demolishing it, taking all 100 floors in a single day and cementing himself as something the system was never designed to produce. Inside that tower, other hunters are screaming and falling and begging the walls to let them out, and he stands in the middle of all with his hands in his pockets, utterly still, because chaos stopped being a threat to him a long time ago. He glances down at whatever is in front of him with the quiet, unhurried calm of a man checking the time. Not because he isn't paying attention, but because nothing in that tower has earned his full attention in years. And then he reaches floor 100, and standing in front of him is the Balrog, a creature built from pure destruction, all fire and mass and ancient rage, the thing that has ended more hunters than any other force inside that tower, looming over him like a closing door. And he smirks. Outside the tower, the internet is fracturing over him, hunters arguing about his rank, skeptics refusing to believe someone like this exists, and then the witnesses start speaking up one by one. A B-rank hunter who crossed his path on floor 72 and watched him take down 3 werewolves solo without hesitation, without a single visible effort, and came back out saying the man does not move like something that was ever afraid of anything. And when we finally see it for ourselves, the witnesses were underselling it. He doesn't fight the Balrog. He humiliates it, driving its head into the stone floor with his foot and throwing his head back to scream at the ceiling that he is the greatest thing this tower has ever had the privilege of containing. The Balrog dissolves in purple flame beneath him, and he watches it go with the detached expression of someone watching a fire burn out, because at this point, winning stopped feeling like an achievement somewhere around clear number 500. And when the smoke clears and the silence settles, he lets out a long, slow sigh, not of relief, not of triumph, but of a man who has just finished something he has done so many times. It has stopped meaning anything at all. For 12 years, every hunter who entered the tutorial tower followed the same maps, used the same strategies, and shared every hard-won secret with the world, and still, most of them never made it out alive. Governments broadcast survival guides, researchers filled databases with conquest data, and none of it mattered, because no amount of preparation could make a person ready for what waited at the very top of floor 99. After clawing through every trap, every monster, every floor, hunters arrive at the Balrog, the tower's final and only answer to everything they've survived, and it has killed 70 out of every 95 people who ever had the misfortune of standing in front of it. It doesn't tire, it doesn't hesitate, it simply hits, and the people it hits don't get a second chance, and yet one man walks away from it without hurrying, without celebrating, without even looking back, because he has done this before, more times than any human being was ever supposed to. The screen above him reads 1,349 clear, and he steps toward the exit portal, the same way a man clocks out of a job he's held for too long. No relief, no triumph, just a quiet exhale and the hollow weight of a number the world doesn't even know exists. His eyes are open, red, and completely steady as the familiar stone arch comes into view and the tower greets him exactly the way it always does. Welcome to the tutorial tower. And his name floats on the screen like a cruel joke. Hyunwoo Kim, the advanced player. He laughs, not because anything is funny, but because laughing is the last thing left after everything else has been used up. And then he drops flat on his back on the cold stone floor and just lies there, arms spread wide, staring up at nothing, while the tower hums around him and begins again. A status window drifts above his chest, glowing blue in the dark, and every stat reads the same line it has read for years. Tutorial limit reached. His body long since pushed past every ceiling the tower was designed to hold, and now just sitting there, unchanged, unrewarded, and completely out of room to grow. 12 years ago, it was supposed to end exactly like this. The Balrog fell, the system fired its congratulations, his teammates raised their fists and screamed like people who had just cheated death because they had, and Hyunwoo smiled and promised them all they'd meet up on the outside. But when the portal closed, they were gone, and he was standing alone on floor 1 again, and that's when he saw it, buried at the bottom of his status window like a sentence passed without a trial. You have been cursed by the tower. He slammed his hands against the screen, demanded answers, hit it until there was nothing left to hit, and the tower responded the only way it ever has, with complete and total silence. So he tried to break it by force, solo clears, consecutive clears, training until stone crumbled under his bare fist, and every single time, without fail, the arch lit up and welcomed him back to floor 1, until 5 years had disappeared and the screaming had turned into laughter, because that was all that was left. For a stretch, he tried to make peace with it, wearing a skull mask and playing mysterious guide, putting on a military uniform and turning raw recruits into survivors, but every time someone stepped through that portal and went home to a life he could no longer reach, something inside him got a little quieter, and eventually he stopped putting himself through the reminder altogether. 12 years in, he is lying on the ground again, running through a status window that has not changed in longer than he cares to count. Same stats, same limits, same dead ends, until his eyes stop on a single line that was not there before. He sits up fast, pulls the screen toward him with both hands, and reads it twice just to be sure. Endless loop removed. After your next clear, you may pass through. Something moves across his face, quiet at first, barely the corner of a smile, and then it tears open into something raw and total, and he throws his head back and screams at the tower ceiling with 12 years of everything behind it, because the curse is broken. The number finally means something. And after all of it, Hyunwoo Kim is going home. The world's top guild leaders are sitting on a talk show when the host dropped what sounds like a simple question. Can the newest generation of hunters beat the record? And every single one of them pauses before answering. Seoyeon Lee says it comes down to teamwork. Sihyun Kim says individual ability is just as decisive, and Seokwan Han cuts through both of them to say the real challenge doesn't even begin until floor 51, because that's where the tower stops measuring potential and starts collecting the people who didn't have enough of it. From floor 51 onward, a boss appears every 10 floors, each one designed to be harder than anything that came before it, and no amount of shared data or careful strategy keeps you alive if the gap between you and the monster is simply too wide to close. But right now, somewhere deep inside that tower, one man has thrown the strategy out entirely. He is burning through floors at a pace that shouldn't be possible, blasting past 60, 70, 80, 90, screaming at every obstacle to get out of his way, because after 12 years, patience is the one thing he has completely run out of. Floor 99, and he is standing in front of the Balrog, the same creature that has permanently ended the stories of the majority of hunters who ever reached this point, and he screams at it that he is going home, not like a man fighting for his life, but like a man removing the last thing blocking his front door. Outside at the observation building, the officials monitoring their equipment suddenly freeze because the tower is opening, and the clock on the wall says that is absolutely not supposed to be happening yet, and someone's voice goes sharp with disbelief as the words "new record" start forming in the air. Light tears through the courtyard as a portal splits open, and before anyone has fully processed what they're seeing, orders are already flying. Check the survivor list, get the names ready, because the system is moving faster than the people running it, and something is stepping out of that light. A young man with dark messy hair and red eyes walks out, stops in the middle of the empty courtyard like he has nowhere urgent to be, and an official rushes over with congratulations and rehearsed words about how difficult it must have been, and the young man listens to exactly none of it. He turns slowly, and there's a smile on his face that doesn't match the situation. Not the smile of someone who just survived something terrible, but the smile of someone who has been holding onto a secret for a very long time and is only now allowing himself to feel it. And then he breaks, both arms thrown into the air, voice cracking wide open, screaming that he's free, that Hyunwoo Kim has finally come back. The official flips through his papers, finds the name, and the color drains from his face because the entry date next to Hyunwoo Kim is 2006, the same year as Seoyeon Lee, the same year as Sihyun Kim, the founding generation that built the entire hunter system the world now runs on. And he stares at the page like it's telling him something something that can't be true. But it is true. This isn't just another hunter walking out of the tower. This is the advanced player, first-generation hunter Atunu Kim, stepping back into a world that has spent 12 years moving on without him. 1 week later, the energy outside the Korean tutorial center is enormous. The 18th generation just broke the world record by 2 full weeks. The cameras are everywhere, and the crowd is loud enough that the reporters have to shout just to be heard over it. But the record is only half the story, because somewhere inside that building is the advanced player himself. And every network, every journalist, every person watching from home is asking the same question. What does 12 years inside that tower do to a person? In the VIP waiting room, the first generation hunters are already gathered, and when Hyonu's name is confirmed on the documents, Seo-yeon Lee offers a quiet reminder to the room. Inside the tower, the body stops aging entirely, so when they see him, he will look exactly the same as the 24-year-old who disappeared into that portal in 2006. The large man in the white jacket tilts his head back with a slow, wide grin spreading across his face and says he genuinely cannot wait to see what kind of monster 12 years of uninterrupted clearing has turned Hyunu into. 5 minutes before the great assessment begins, the trainee hunters are packed into the waiting room in full red protective gear. And standing right in the middle of all that tension and preparation is a dark-haired kid named Ji-young Kim, calmly eating onion chips like the exam is something happening to someone else. He upends the empty bag, shrugs at it, burps without apology, and then, only then, looks around and registers that every single person in the room is wearing protective equipment he never collected. And when someone points out that a poor grade assessment sets you back for everything that follows, Ji-young quietly pieces together that he was almost certainly asleep when they handed it out. The announcement comes over the speakers telling everyone to move to the examination site. The double doors at the far end burst open and flood the room with blinding white light, and Ji-young squints into it and asks with complete sincerity what on earth that is. Outside, a vast industrial building sits under the open sky, and in front of its enormous metal doors stands a single man in a black suit and dark glasses, David, an A-grade hunter, who looks out at the crowd of red-armored trainees and tells them, without a single word of encouragement, that the exam has already begun.